So we may have bought a condo yesterday. May have. We got under contract on a investment property, a buy and hold.
Uh-huh.
And so a lot of people were asking yesterday about, ooh, real estate. What are you doing? What are you doing? I want to do real estate. Real estate is not for the faint of heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's why you need to follow us on TikTok so that you can win a PS5, The Monty Show
Mm-hmm.
_ It's The Monty Show _ on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
When we get to 5,000 followers on TikTok, and we just picked up 38 more.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Dude.
we're almost at 2,800 now.
Bro.
So let's go. But what we're doing on real estate is pretty simple. We're trying to get into buy and holds. We flipped a lot of houses, and it's one of the things that I'm truly passionate about. But the wholesale market right now is a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're getting into buy and holds now. And so we got under contract on a condo yesterday.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out because it's very low risk. It is, I will simply, without giving details, say it's under $300,000. It's a perfect rental property. And it should, accelerate in value very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It should go up in value very quickly. So I feel like it's a really good thing. But the question is now the strategy moving forward. Because I am not in this world to collect a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer in this. And as I was talking about with Chris Karn yesterday, and who sent me a great audio book, you've got to learn to manipulate the tax code. Because the tax code is not set up for you to collect a paycheck. And so for me right now, with this condo, I need to be able to leverage that condo to do other things.
Mm-hmm.
Either pick up more buy and hold property. I am going to do something with it because I honestly think real estate still is the place, and it's made it through the pandemic.
It's always going to be. There's never going to be a time when people don't need a place to live. That just is the way it works, and I think that the reason, certain aspects of real estate are bulletproof is because there's just a need. If you think about, what things in life do you absolutely have to have? Well, you need food, water, a place to live, and, and most people need a car.
Well, the interesting thing about this condo that we picked up is it was pretty competitive. We used some strategy in that. We were talking to our mortgage guy, Devery, about, writing offer. And we just came up with a strategy to win this particular property.
Right.
And I think that's what you have to do. When you're buying real estate, it is very, very difficult to compete because you're probably competing, at the height of the pandemic, you were competing against 20, 30, 40 other contracts.
Yeah.
Now you're probably competing, and I guess there were three of us on this particular one. But, you have to have strategies in place to win.
Yeah.
We used an escalation addendum on our contract, which basically is, a clause that says, hey, I'm going to write you an offer at $1 million, but I'm willing to go all the way up to $1.1 million. And if somebody makes you an offer that's above mine, that's between, $1.1 million and $1 million, I'll pay $1,000 more than they will. And that's essentially how you win those contracts.
Right.
It is not an easy thing to negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I tell everybody, if you're going to hire a realtor, you need a referral. Like the realtor I used was somebody that I know, and I got a referral to her buyer agent. And he actually has worked out very well. I think he's done, I would think Mrs. Monty would agree, but I think this guy's done a very good job for us.
Yeah.
There were some issues with, a lawsuit in the HOA, which is the other thing. My God, can we please eliminate HOAs? Like it is, and they're necessary. But HOAs in this state
are so much. The money that they cost are ridiculous, dude.
HOAs in this state are a racket. And I think a lot of it is because the building boom of the 90s and the early 2000s that took place in Utah was not necessarily the best construction in the world. So, I mean, probably
True.
I would guess 3 out of every 5 HOAs, you know, 3 out of every 5 HOAs have a lawsuit of some kind. You know, and when you were telling me there's that new planned community that's going up in Bountiful.
Yeah, there's a new planned community up north. I got to look into it, but apparently it's going to be like another version of like, any big community you think of, like, the Daybreaks or, all these, because they're
Yeah.
basically trying to build like, basically like mini enclaves inside of bigger cities. So like, you have Bountiful the city, but then they're going to build this, massive mini city inside of that. So you don't ever have to leave there.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is that there is a lot of fraud's a strong word. Real estate is a very
It's full
slippery
of
slope.
schemers.
You really have to do some due diligence. And again, this is why contracts have, inspection periods and due diligence periods. And
Hmm.
I mean, there's a lot that you need to know about a property before you buy it and acquire it. And you essentially are going to lend somebody a little bit of money to make sure that you can take a deep dive into the orifices of that property,
Right.
which is exactly what we're going to do. But it is not an easy, it's not an easy,
Venture.
thing to do right now. Buying real estate is not something you should do willy nilly.
Yeah, and right now it's a frustrating experience because there's not a ton available. Like inventory needs to go
But you
up
know what the
here.
funny thing is? I think there is a good amount of property available. The problem is the buyer pool has built because the pandemic housing shortage. I mean, a year ago, there were less than 2,000 homes available in the entire state of Utah. And I was looking at it yesterday. There's 4,627 homes available yesterday, according to HomeSnap in the state of Utah. So,
Yeah, but I don't give a damn about the state of Utah. I'm talking about realistically where people want to be buying.
well, the problem is the average transaction in our area is about $560,000.
Yeah.
And that prices a lot of people out of the market. And the fact is that a lot of homes that are on the market now, and Phoenix and Arizona are very much the same way. A lot of homes that are on the market now are probably 20 to 30% inflated.
Yeah.
And so you have to ask yourself, okay, well, for instance, let's just take $500,000 as a round number. Well, I'm going to pay $500,000 for this house. Is this a $500,000 neighborhood? More to the point, is this ever going to be a $600,000 or a $700,000 neighborhood? Am I ever going to have six figures in equity in this property?
Yeah.
Because if you're not, you probably shouldn't be that aggressive with it.
Yeah, it's not worth the investment.
There is, and living in Daybreak, I can tell you there's a lot of inflation here. There's a lot of people who think that they can just throw a number on a house and somebody's going to pay it.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. And I think that's why you see a lot of homes are sitting. And this goes back to what we talked about yesterday with Open Door.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the corporate wholesale property buyers and sellers are a real problem for the consumer because you're overpaying because they overpaid.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. eBay says you do realize that people are rushing out to buy homes before the interest rates start going up in March. However, by the second rate, the housing market will crash. I don't see a housing crash coming. I think that you're going to see a level off, and I think you could see a step back, a small correction, if you will. You're not going to see a 2008 crash. And if there is a 2008 crash, I hope you have money to buy. I hope you have credit to buy because that's when you have to take advantage. But I don't think we're there because what happened in 2008 and what happened with the even earlier than that with the foreclosure boom.
Yeah.
You had a lot of systems that had no infrastructure. You had a housing market that was built on nothing.
Yeah.
And that's not the case anymore. So you have a lot more regulation, which is good and bad, but there's just not, the system is not in place for the market to crash. You're not going to have homes that, people have a, $500,000 loan on a house that's worth $300,000. That's just not in place. Loan to values now are so much further in line than they were back during the crash.
Yeah.
You had, and it's, if you watch the movie The Big Short, it is, I think, the biggest tale of the housing crash. I mean, you have strippers that own 5 houses, and those houses were worth 200,000, and they had $500,000 loans on all of them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you look at Vegas, Stockton, Modesto, California, you know, I mean, the foreclosure booms were ugly,
Crazy.
ugly. Um, the Casual Monty Show.
Yes. Yes. The casuals.
There
Yes.
you go.
You're a casual.
Yeah, says, can I rent your condo? No. Josh says, I don't think they'd be investing their money in something they hadn't done research on. Why have you been consistently hating this whole podcast, eBay? That's who eBay is. Bad idea to buy and overpay for real estate now. You know the stock market will crash much worse than 2000 and 2008. I just don't think that's happening. I don't. I mean, even if the stock market crashes, and this is something that I think is a big conversation now.
Yeah.
The stock market is not indicative of the average Joe, right? I mean, obviously, a guy like me, I have a 401k and a Roth. You know, I own stock in the company I work for. Obviously, my net worth is coming down as the stock market's coming down. But historically, the stock market has always corrected. But what has it always done? When it's gone down, it's gone right back up. So I think that I think you're seeing the correction in the market right now. I think inflation is a huge problem. I think that there's a lot of people hoping for the midterms to change direction, but I don't necessarily know that the stock market is as imperative to the average American as it had been previously.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. C. Sheever says, good to see Butler on the floor and put up some good numbers. I agree. Jared Butler needs confidence building, and shooting the three as well as he is, I think, really helps. Dane says Daybreak is rough anyways, but at least the internet is there. Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
Chris Karn says my HOA has gone up by $20 in 18 years. Not all are bad. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But
Correct.
where are you at in the valley, though? You know?
Yeah. Giggity says eBay the Sofa Surfer is still salty over his Packers taking it. Would agree. People buying the HOAs and don't do any research. It's crazy to watch, Chris Karn says. I agree. Daybreak is a bit of a racket. Daybreak is a racket. You supposedly get a lot in Daybreak for your HOA. And if you know what? We have beautiful lakes. We have beautiful green spaces. We have beautiful amenities. I agree with that. Mrs. Monty happens to use a lot of those. We use a lot of those. My HOA is well worth it. On a buy and hold, you know, I'm a little reticent to pay that much for an HOA, but the value I'm getting the property at and what its potential income is, rents in this state right now are outrageous.
Yeah.
So, like we were talking about this last night, I'm planning a correction on rent. Like the numbers on this deal for us match up perfectly.
Right.
I mean, it is almost as much of a no-brainer as you could possibly have. Real quick, couple other comments. The market fundamentals are totally different than 2008. We may slow, but Utah will not crash. Totally agree.
Yeah.
eBay says China will crash our housing market. Look up Evergrande. Well, but again, I think you have a tiered housing system and you have backstops in place. And you should look at the. It's a whole black hole. Trust me. Does Jake have the new drop courtesy of Uncle Joe ready yet?
No, I don't. I'm not sure what that's I'm not sure what that's a reference to.
Giggity, what is the Uncle Joe reference? eBay the Sofa Surfer says Arizona will crash. Well, I'm not in Arizona. I made a ton of money on real estate in Arizona. So, with all due respect, I just think the Chinese fear. I don't know that the Chinese fear is backed with fact. You know, like I read a lot about that. I get a lot of real estate news. I used to be a licensed agent in Arizona. We've done a lot of real estate in our lives. And I think, you know, looking at the numbers, looking at the information in the numbers, I don't see the China debt crash coming. I don't. So the Casual Monty Show says Jake is a drop machine. Yes, he is.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, he is.
You're a casual.
Yes, he is. I'm serious. We got to find a way to open up like a Smash Burger or a Jack in the Box.
Yeah. I mean, again, fast food is undefeated, dude. I mean, I think if you have a good brand and a good location, it's over.
But it's like $3 million to open up a Jack in the Box.
That might be true, and that's a big number up front. But I think, you know, when you look at that over 15 years, month in and month out performance, it's a
Yeah.
lot of opportunity.
If you could open any fast food restaurant, what would it be?
I mean, Jack probably,
I
but
think McDonald's takes over too much of your life. I think the problem with Chick-fil-A, and a lot of people knee-jerk and say Chick-fil-A because it's so cheap to get into a Chick-fil-A, you never own it.
yeah,
The company always owns it. You never own the Chick-fil-A. You know, I don't know.
probably Jack. I mean, honestly, in Utah, because there's not a lot of them.
But you know what's missing here is a good fast breakfast place, like a cold oats, coffee oats, baked goods, like a good breakfast only specialty joint would do really well in Utah.
Yeah, in Daybreak. Yeah,
In Daybreak, South Jordan, Draper. Excuse me.
bro, are you okay?
I'm dying. I'll tell you what, though. I'm sleeping really well. This new terrible tasting NyQuil has done the job. Now, last night I woke up in a panic sweat. It was weird.
What is a panic sweat? What does that mean? You woke up sweating and you were panicking?
Yeah, like, ah!
Okay.
I don't know
Were
why.
you having dreams or
No,
I mean,
I
what's
just-
going on?
Haven't you ever woken up like that? Like, ah! And you're like hot and you're sweating and you're like, okay, I'm awake.
I'm awake. Who's here?
I've
I've
woke
arrived.
up. I woke up. It was 2:25.
Damn.
I sat up on my elbow, and I was like, whew. My wife was passed out next to me. She was sleeping. And you know, the funny thing is, she said this the other night too. Like, do you ever have that dream where you hear something in your dream, and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, somebody's in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you lay there in dead silence, and all you hear is the ringing in your ears, and you're like, wait, was that in my dream?
Is this a dream
Was
or
that in
is
my
this
dream or-
real? On BYU Radio.
The problem is I've got on BYU radio. The problem is I've gotten into these TikTok accounts that are like the Reddit TikTok accounts.
Dude, it's savage, bro.
scariest,
True or not, I don't know, but holy crap.
your scariest moment ever. And like people on Reddit will reply, and then they'll put the text on the screen so the guy in the
Yeah.
scary voice reads
Yeah.
it. You know, like Ted Bundy almost murdered by Ted Bundy stories.
Final.
Anyway, I just freaked out last night.
Yeah.
Over nothing.
Okay.
Does Monty had COVID or just a normal cough? Just a normal cough. I've tested negative for COVID.
The coronavirus.
And I've just had this. My wife had like a pretty good cough when I got back from Tahoe a month ago. And since then, it's way better now. Like
Yeah.
it's
it seems
way
to
better.
come and go almost.
Yeah, I'm pretty much over it now, I feel like. Yesterday when I was on the phone at the Yelpatory, I coughed a little bit. But if I laugh, I cough.
Mm-hmm.
Like little stuff like that. But now just on the regular every 20 seconds, I'm not coughing.
Right. It's
But
better.
I'm telling you, this new NyQuil Severe, the green one you get at Costco, I mean, that's narco shit, dude. That's like
it's narco.
that's like knocking me out. That is knocking me out.
The tussin.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that tussin is. But we bought this Dayquil cough suppressant now,
Mhm.
this Dayquil cough, and I feel like it's really working. I ran out of regular Dayquil Severe today, so we moved over to the Dayquil cough. I feel like it's working.
Okay.
I
Good.
feel good
Well,
today.
I'm good. I'm glad. Yeah.
Justin Salas says, morning, fellas, trying to get my first investment home, and it looks like I'm going to need 20% anyways around having to put that much money down. Well, you know what? It's tough. Like, I am not eligible for first-time buyer programs. And there's a lot of conjecture about those. Like, Utah has a really aggressive first-time home buyer program where they'll lend you a second
Mm-hmm.
right away to cover your closing costs, your down payment, and all that.
But it has to be FHA.
Yeah, that's an FHA program. And a lot of people are like, well, if you need that FHA program, should you really be buying a house? And I say yes, because a year from now, you're not going to be able to afford to buy the same house.
Wow.
Which is something to look at. But my point is 20% down. Here's what I would tell you, Justin, and this is just my opinion. I am not an expert. I am not a licensed realtor, but here's what I would tell you. If you don't have 20% down, you probably can't afford to buy that house. And this is something me and Mrs. Monty had a long talk about in the hot tub the other night. Buying this rental property is going to take a pretty good chunk of our liquidity. Now, fortunately, we're in a place where we're debt-free and we have quite a bit of liquidity right now, which is why we're trying to put it to work and build a tax shelter into it. But the question is that liquidity more valuable to you And think about it in these terms. Do you want to have $100,000 in the bank or $20,000 in the bank and you own an investment property? Now, I'm the guy who says I'd rather have 20 grand in the bank and own an investment property because I know I make enough and I know how to leverage that investment property to make me more money. And I know that I have enough income and we work hard and we make good money. We're pretty good at what we do, that we'll be able to rebuild our liquidity fairly quickly. I want to build my net worth and I want to build generational wealth. So Justin, I would tell you, if you can afford the 20% down and it's not going to change your day-to-day or it's not going to put you in danger of failing on the day-to-day, I'd absolutely do it.
I'm going to do that.
But if it makes you live paycheck to paycheck, do not even consider it. Do not even consider it. You cannot, in this society today, live paycheck to paycheck.
No.
You just can't do it.
One big mistake away.
You can't. You're a car breakdown away from being out. You're a car payment. You're a huge issue in your house away from, being, behind in forbearance. And that's just not a risk you can take. Because once you wreck your credit, it's 2022. If you are under 650 in a credit score, you're in real trouble right now. And if you are under 650, you better get to work because it is a tall hill to climb, because that means you've missed payments. That means you likely have heavy debt. And those scenarios are tough to get out of. You have to find a lump sum, a windfall of money to get out of those. So, Justin Sala says 20% down takes 90% of our savings. Well, what I would ask you then is, what's your day-to-day liquidity and stability? I mean, are you if you take that 20% and you buy this property, are you putting yourself in a tight financial situation? I am not. I am buying this rental property and my day-to-day will not change. It won't. I mean, we're committed this year, and the three of us, Mrs. Monty, Jake, and I generally do things together. We have committed to not spending money. We have completely cut our extra spending out.
Yeah, that means no more Jordans and sneakers app drops and stuff.
Not for now, because we have bigger goals. So I would ask you, Justin, hey, if that 20% makes you tight on the day-to-day, if you got to make a decision about paying off a credit card versus buying this condo, pay off the credit card.
Yeah.
Get out of debt. If you are not 100% debt-free, and when I say I'm debt-free, I have a mortgage and I have a car loan. That's what I've got. I've got no debt outside of that. If you are not 100% debt-free, you should pay off your debt first. If you are making credit card payments, pay off your credit cards first. Then go buy investment properties. That's what I would say. He says, no debt minus our home. We are fine day to day, but the wife likes the peace of mind of having liquidity. Safety is not safe. It's not. Comfortability is not safe. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
End of story. The brave are always rewarded. And if you go out and you buy an investment property and your day-to-day doesn't change, there's no reason not to buy that. My wife and I are both in the low 900 credit-wise. She has been my savior with the finances. Truth. Best way to build credit is RC Willey. If you live in Utah, go buy furniture at RC Willey. Go buy a love seat at RC Willey. Put it in your living room. Do not pay it off early. Buy a $500 love seat. Make that payment every single month according to the terms. And then when you pay that off, do it again. Because RC Willey, whether you know it or not, is the biggest bank in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And RC Willey will build your credit. The thing you don't want to do, in my opinion, is you don't want to have 10 credit cards and get into credit card debt. You cannot do that.
You want available credit, but you don't want to be in debt.
The best way to do that is to open a line of credit that you can absolutely dominate and use it, increase it, use it, increase it. That's how you build credit. That's how you do it. Do not miss a payment ever on anything. Use your credit cards, pay them off. Do not pay interest. Do not miss a car payment. Do not miss a rent payment. That's how you do it. There endeth the lesson. Until tomorrow, make sure you subscribe to win this Xbox Series X. All you have to do to win the Xbox, if you're listening on audio or on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Monty Show. TheMontyShow.com will take you right to it. You want to win a PS5, make sure you find us on TikTok, The Monty Show _ at the end of The Monty Show, The Monty Show _. Hit follow. When we get to 5,000, we'll give it away. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.